Hallo da draußen und willkommen zu einer Runde The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Ja, nur für euch habe ich extra meinen Spielstand komplett gelöscht, um von vorne anfangen zu können. The Stanley Parable, ich glaube, da muss ich jetzt nicht wirklich viel zu sagen. Ist ein absolutes Kultspiel. Und in dem Fall spielen wir die Ultra Deluxe Edition. Die ist vor, oh Gott, ich glaube, ist auch schon 3 oder 4 Jahren rausgekommen. Hat so ein paar Sachen, ja, verändert. Unter anderem gibt es ein komplett neues Ende und so ein paar Jokes wurden etwas aktualisiert, weil das Original ist ja von 2009, 2010 so in die Richtung. Ich weiß es jetzt gar nicht auswendig. Ja, aber auf jeden Fall stürzen wir uns heute in den Irrsinn namens Stanley Parable. Wir können auch die Sprache auswählen. Betrifft nur die Untertitel. Nehmen wir Deutsch. Ja, ich habe es schon mal gespielt. Aber ich klicke auf Nein. Ich bin ganz wild. Na, passt alles. Wie spät haben wir es denn? Viertel vor 6 Uhr abends. Also 6. Ich weiß nicht, worauf das Spiel hinaus will, aber. Okay.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ja, ich sag's euch gleich, das Spiel wird wild.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
So, bevor ich weitermache, wenn euch das hier gefällt, dann lasst doch gerne einen Daumen nach oben da, wenn ihr mehr sehen wollt. Abonniert meinen Kanal oder folgt mir hier auf Twitch. Und wenn ihr was zu sagen habt, dann ab damit in die Kommentare oder in den Chat. Ja, das Spiel hat, also Stanley Parable hat bestimmt ungelogen ein Dutzend Enden. Alles schaffen wir jetzt heute nicht, aber ich zeige euch mal so, zumindest so die Highlights. Ewig her, dass ich es gespielt habe, aber ja. Machen wir erst das Simpelste. Wir tun einfach das, was der Erzähler sagt. Also gehen wir zum Meetingraum. Wir stellen keine Fragen, wir gehen zum Meetingraum.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ja, das tat er.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ich lasse jetzt einfach mal hier so die unkommentiert die Folien durchlaufen. Also ich kann es doch nicht steuern, aber ihr wisst, wie ich es meine. Ja. Ach, schöne Motivationsfolien. Okay, gucken wir uns hier ein bisschen um. Ja, es gibt so quasi... Also, die haben das deutlich verbessert. Im Original war es, glaube ich, überhaupt nicht zu entziffern. Irgendwas mit Aktien. What is hot? Profits, 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 profits. Statistiken über Geld und Dinge. Yay. Okay, also gehen wir weiter. Diesen Raum werden wir, glaube ich, noch öfters sehen.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Nein, das ist Badezimmer.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
5, 5, 5, 5. Ah, gibt kein Kommentar von sich. Na gut.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
8, 4, 5.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ich glaube, das ist sogar noch das normalste Ende, was man freischalten kann. Ja, hier geht's nicht weiter. Oh, Ladebildschirm. Geht ganz selten.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Auf meinem YouTube-Kanal finde ich übrigens auch, ich glaube, es waren auch 5 oder 6 Videos, die ich mit dem Original aufgenommen habe. Das ist aber, wie gesagt, ein paar
Stanley walked
Jährchen
straight
her.
ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape. Mind Control Facility. Escape. Abhauen. Gedankenkontrolle. Abhauen. Gedankenkontrolle. Ach, Gedankenkontrolle. Ich glaube, ich kenne das Ende überhaupt nicht. Ich habe immer aus Protest genau das Gegenteil von dem gemacht, was der Erzähler sagt. So wie Wahrscheinlich
The
jeder andere
lights
Spieler.
rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Was ist die 247? Da unten ist die 247. Übrigens Quersumme 13. Keine Ahnung, ob es was zu bedeuten hat. Lassen wir nochmal drauf, wenn... Naja, okay, jetzt nichts wirklich zu sehen.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Kommt noch was?
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Okay, definitiv das normalste Ende. Und voilà, wir sind wieder im Büro? Na komm, lade. Sollen wir uns wirklich rauswagen? Wollen wir den nächsten Weg einschlagen? Wollen wir das Gebäude erkunden und uns den Kommandos und Befehlen des Erzählers widersetzen oder ihnen folgen? Ich sag nö.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Okay. Das war... Ja. Das war... Ich nenne es das Och-Nö-Ende. So. Diesmal gehen wir aber wirklich nochmal raus aus dem Büro.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ja, ja. Kennen wir schon.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ja. Dupdidu.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Ja, Meetingraum
Feeling a
kennen wir schon.
wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Während der Erzähler sich beschwert, muss ich gerade was auf meinem Handy einstellen, damit ich euch auch im Chat sehen kann.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA. Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Nein, ich gehe nicht raus.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Findet ihr es beunruhigend? Schreibt es mir in die Kommentare.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Eventuell sind es Blackjack und Nutten. Ja, danke. So
Well,
viel
I've
Genre
come to a
muss
very
sein.
definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed in front of your screen. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello?
Nope.
Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. They have fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Nope. Wird nicht passieren. Hey, es ist das einzige Spiel, in dem man sinnlos rumstehen kann und es passiert was. Also, es wird was passieren. Ich will das Besenkammerende sehen. Na komm. Was haben wir denn hier? Ein Schraubenschlüssel, noch eine Zange, ein orangenes Ding, von dem ich nicht weiß, was es sein soll. Ein paar Kisten. Eine Kiste blau, eine Kiste in gelb mit einem Schraubenschlüssel drin. Eine Drahtrolle, auf der etwas aufgedruckt ist, das wie das Radioaktivzeichen aussieht. Oh, ein Wischmopp. Nee, den kann man leider nicht verwenden. Jetzt gebt mir endlich das Besenkammerende. Ich will meine Zuschauer nicht ewig warten lassen. Okay, ich habe die Befürchtung, es wird zu langweilig, wenn wir hier weiter drin stehen. Ich zähle jetzt mal von 20 runter und dann gehen wir doch wieder raus. Oh, Klebeband. 1, 2. Insgesamt haben wir 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 Gegenstände auf der Mitte. Einer ganz oben, das sind 14, 15, 16, drüber. 17, 18, 19, 20 mit dem Schlauch, 21 mit dem Besen, 22 mit dem Wischding sie da. Naja, gut. Ich zähle mal von 20 runter. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16,5, 16, 15, 14 3/4, 14, böse Unglückszahl, die zensiert wird, 12, 11, 10, 9,5, 9, 8 3/6, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, ich gebe auf. Ich gehe raus aus der blöden Besenkammer.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
Okay, jetzt muss ich doch mal. Ich muss den Erzähler trollen.
You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Na gut. Ach, jetzt reagiert er nicht mehr. Schade. Na gut.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Macht er das? Macht er es nicht? Ja. Da gibt es auch ein paar Abzweigungen, die wir nehmen können. Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes. If the bosses suffered losses, then that's what the bosses chose. Okay. Ich habe jetzt keinen Bock, das zu übersetzen. Das Time Magazine mit der U aufgedruckt. Extreme Bathrooms. Okay, Dude. Man sieht sich gar nicht im Spiegel. Ah.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be?
Yes.
In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Die Steuerung mit dem Gamepad ist echt... 2...
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Ach, verdammt. 2... 8...
2845.
Ja, ist ja gut, Erzähler.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ja. Abwärts. Nächsten Durchgang nehmen wir eine andere Route, versprochen. Das mit der Besenkammer, das hat nicht so geklappt. Ich glaube, da muss man wirklich eine halbe Stunde oder so warten. Das will ich euch das auch nicht antun. So.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Nö.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Nope.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death. As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Was? glaube, ich hab's kaputt gemacht.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Okay. Ja. Landschaftsgemälde. Der Bürogrundriss. Dieser Plan zeigt das Büro vom Spielanfang. Der Weg von Stanleys Büro zu den beiden Türen war der erste Teil des Spiels, der gebaut wurde. Im Laufe der Entwicklung wurden Abschnitte hinzugefügt und verändert. Aber der Kerngrundriss ist fast identisch mit zum ersten Grundlauf. Durchlauf. Na, da haben wir die beiden Türen und dann hört's auf. Die zwei Türen. Die zwei offenen Türen waren der erste konkrete Teil des Stanley des Stanley Parable Designs. Als dieser Raum erstellt worden war, entwickelte sich der Rest des Spiels als eine Erweiterung davon, eine Erkundung des Widerspruches, den dieser Raum darstellte. Okay, es kommt jetzt irgendwie satirisch rüber, aber eigentlich ist das ja so ein bisschen Making-of. Jetzt nicht, was ich als Ende erwartet hätte, okay. Das Büro. Knopfgeräusche. Eine Auswahl an Geräuschen, die im gesamten Spiel beim Drücken von Knöpfen verwendet werden. Jedes Geräusch ist eine Mischung von einem Tastenschlag und einem künstlichen Ton. Nur die 3 will nicht. Ah, doch. Hier haben wir die Credits. Kevin Brighting als der Erzähler. Damals, im wilden Jahr 2019, als die ersten KI-Stimmen das Licht der Welt erblickt haben, gab es eine Webseite, die hieß einfach nur 21, also 21 ausgeschrieben, .ai, also AI. Und da konnte man alle möglichen KI-Stimmen nutzen, um Blödsinn anzustellen. Da war auch der Erzähler aus Stanley Parable dabei. Ich weiß gar nicht, ob es die Seite noch gibt. Es war auf jeden Fall irgendwas vom, ich glaube sogar vom MIT, von so einem Freizeitprojekt von irgendeinem Student, der anscheinend so viel Geld hat und auch ab und zu mal auf 4chan rumgehangen hat. Aber ja, irgendwann war die Seite leider nicht mehr erreichbar. So. Gehen wir nochmal da hinten hin. Ich sagte ja, das erste Ende, was wir hatten, war noch das Normalste. Okay, vielleicht auch das zweite. Wo wir einfach die Tür wieder zugemacht haben. Der Wartungsraum. Gibt's da draußen noch? Ich weiß, es könnte ein bisschen spoilerisch werden, wenn wir hier zu lange rumlaufen oder zu viel rumlaufen. Ja, da geht's auch hoch. Okay. Die Bürouhr. Und ja, ich werde tatsächlich ein bisschen nostalgisch, weil ich das Original wirklich... Ich habe wirklich versucht, alle Enden zu sehen. Und ja. Da habe ich schon ein bisschen Zeit reingesteckt. Das Freiheitsende, ja, das hatten wir schon. Countdown-Schreibtisch. Nochmal das Freiheitsende. Ach, da geht's raus, okay. Der Überwachungsraumaufzug. Ja, nee. Also. Ich laufe jetzt hier nicht alles ab, eben weil Spoiler sind.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save those two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Turn off your Xbox. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Oh. Okay. Aber schön, dass das Spiel erkennt, auf welcher Konsole man ist. Ja, also ich hätte tatsächlich die Xbox ausschalten können und ja, es war schon cool. Okay, let's
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Können wir eigentlich zurück? Nein. Also, je öfter man das startet, umso höher ist die Wahrscheinlichkeit, dass sich hier am Anfang alles verändert. Also, dass der Raum anders aussieht. So, diesmal gehen wir durch die rechte Tür. Obwohl...
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Ich finde dieses Büro unheimlich.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope. Ich weiß genau, was ich
Stanley
mache.
was so bad at following directions, it's incredible it wasn't 5 years ago.
Hey, wir sind im Lager.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Ist das ein Klavier? Nee, sah so aus.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Nein, ich mache jetzt keinen Matrix-Witz.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
So. Sorry, musste gerade mal husten. Was passiert eigentlich? Ja, okay. Da steht irgendwas nicht. Hey? Naja, gut. Das Spiel will, dass wir durch die Tür gehen. Oh, Ladebildschirm.
What do we want? What are we looking for? Hmm? Here.
Wow.
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Oh. Nee, man kann nicht über die Kante springen. Na gut. Oh. Psychedelisch. Ui. Ich sehe Dinge im Himmel. Hat ein bisschen Ähnlichkeit mit dem UFO aus Unheimliche Begegnung der dritten Art. Wenn man das so sieht. Oh, 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 oh. Nice. Okay, das Ende sagt mir jetzt tatsächlich nichts. Okay.
No, wait. Where are you going? Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
Können wir eigentlich da runter? Nein. Ja. Ich glaube, es ist die einzige freie Entscheidung, die man in diesem Spiel wirklich treffen kann.
No! Oh, thank God. You lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
Können wir zurück? Nö.
No. No, no. What are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Reagiert darauf, wenn wir wieder runtergehen? Also mir macht das irgendwie Angst, dass der Erzähler ausrastet.
There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
Sorry. Das Spiel muss weitergehen.
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this. Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you? Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me? My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You were literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Oh, man läuft doch langsam hoch, okay. Tut mir leid, Bro. Ich will wissen, was passiert.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Okay, das war depressiver, als ich wollte.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ja, der Meetingraum mit dem Status-Meetings aller
Yet
Status-Meetings.
there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Oh.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Oh, das ist das ganz schlimme
This
Ende,
is
ja.
the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Okay, dann ja, beenden wir das hier an dieser nicht ganz so optimistischen Stelle. Beim nächsten Mal machen wir hier weiter. Es dürfte auch nicht mal lange dauern, bis wir auf den neuen Content zugreifen können, weil das brauchst du 3-4 Durchläufe, bis ich dann eine neue Absaugung freischalte, die es im Original nicht gibt. Aber das machen wir beim nächsten Mal. Ich danke euch fürs Zusehen. Wenn es euch gefallen hat, lasst gerne einen Daumen nach oben da, wenn ihr auf YouTube zuschaut. Wenn ihr mehr sehen wollt, folgt mir hier auf Twitch oder eben auf YouTube. Wenn ihr was zu sagen habt, dann schreibt in die Kommentare oder in den Chat. Danke fürs Zusehen, bis zum nächsten Mal und ciao, ciao.